The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
A very warm welcome to all the attendees for taking your time and joining this ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3 overview webinar. We'll just brief you about the new features which are actually introduced in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3. I'm Siddhant from ManageEngine ServiceDesk Plus Marketing, and I'll be your host for this webinar. And today I have with me Krishna Bharat from ServiceDesk Plus MSP team, who will give you a brief presentation on the new features which are actually introduced in 8.3 release. So you can feel free to actually ask all your questions in the questions tab, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So let's kick off the webinar, and I'll hand over the control to Krishna.
Welcome to all. First of all, let me thank you for joining the webinar. This is Krishna Bharat from ManageEngine ServiceDesk for the MSP product team. I'm here to present you an overview of the new features and enhancements made available in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3 version. As you know, ServiceDesk Plus aims and MSP aims at helping managed service providers concentrate on what matters most to them, delivering efficient and profitable service to their clients with these value-added features. So here are the new features we have introduced in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3. So these are QuickBooks integration, CTI integration, criteria-based billing, iPhone push notifications. So let's just get into this features a bit briefly. Integration with QuickBooks. As a service provider, billing your customers is as important as delivering service to them. ServiceDesk Plus MSP now comes integrated with the popular accounting software QuickBooks right out of the box. This actually means that once you step in an integration between the two products, you can concentrate on service delivery while invoicing gets automated with QuickBooks integration. So you can synchronize the customers and avoid manual entries, schedule export of work logs as invoices. So just let's see how exactly this goes inside the application. So there are three simple steps of integrating QuickBooks and with ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So there, you first have to choose the modules that you want to integrate with QuickBooks in ServiceDesk Plus MSP. And two, you need a web connector called QuickBooks Web Connector as an intermediate application to contact between QuickBooks and ServiceDesk Plus MSP. You've got to download and install it on the same machine where QuickBooks is present. And three, you need a QWC file which you can generate in the application, ServiceDesk Plus MSP application, download it, and you got to authorize that particular file in QuickBooks Web Connector application. So first, let's see how exactly this modules integration goes. So there are two particular modules that you can actually synchronize between ServiceDesk Plus MSP and QuickBooks. So the first module is the customers, or we call it as accounts inside ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So what you can do here is either you can import the customers from QuickBooks installation as accounts inside ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. On the other hand, you can also export the accounts inside ServiceDesk Plus MSP application as customers in QuickBooks, or both. You can do both, synchronize. Okay. The second module is going to be the work logs that you add under request module. So what you can do here is you are going to add the work logs under the request section, and these can be exported to QuickBooks as invoices. So let's just see how exactly this goes. This module integration section under QuickBooks integration are in this way. If it's accounts, what you got to first do is enable integration of accounts module, and then you have to select what kind of transfer that you're going to do. Whether it's going to be only importing the accounts from QuickBooks into ServiceDesk Plus MSP application, or you're going to export your accounts as customers into QuickBooks integration, and the two, else synchronizing on both the ways. It's a two-way communication then. And then the third step is going to be accounts to transfer. This will allow you by choosing some selected accounts to only get transferred from the application to QuickBooks, or you can do both the way. I mean, all the accounts inside the application will get created as customers, or no, you can only make it selected. So the third option will allow you to select those things. And then the fourth one, map the fields from ServiceDesk Plus MSP application to QuickBooks. So this is how you're going to integrate accounts module in STP MSP application with the customers section in QuickBooks. And now it goes with the work logs. So as we know, in work log we are going to mention the amount of time spent on a particular request and also the cost involved when doing that particular task by the technician. So we will let you integrate all this information with QuickBooks so that you can generate an invoice which you can send it to your client. And that is in the 6 steps. First, you got to mention the creation periodicity of the invoice. And then you got to choose what are the modules. I mean, there are different modules inside the application where you can generate work logs. I mean, you can add work logs. So those modules you'll be able to select, whether it's requests, problems, changes, or projects. So you'll be able to choose which kind of from which modules the work logs have to be exported as invoices to the QuickBooks. So this option allows you to select those things. And then you should be able to export the work logs. So that is the third step. And then the most important thing, you'll be able to specify a field called work log type in the work log section, which can be mapped to the item field in the QuickBooks. And then provide a short description of what is the item, and then also mention a short section like hours and minutes or just minutes. So this time spent can be recorded in both these ways, either hours or minutes, or hours and minutes. So these sections can be maintained over here under the 6th option. So just let's get into this QuickBooks Web Connector, which is the second step. So once you're done with the modules and their selection and the fields mapping, so now you will have to download and install a tool called QuickBooks Web Connector, which is an intermediate application which will help you to contact QuickBooks from ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So this step requires first you have to download and install the Web Connector, and the link which is showing up here, http://marketplace.intuit.com/webconnector, which will allow you to download that particular QuickBooks Web Connector installation file, and you can install it on the same machine where QuickBooks is installed. And once you do that, you will have to check that particular option, and then comes the third step. So once you installed it, it will let you first inside the application under Admin tab, QuickBooks Integration section. In the third step, first you will have to input the particular file, whichever is that particular company file, in that section, which will give you a QWC file, which you can download it there. Okay, and along with the download file, it will also give you a password, which is kind of a path code, and that particular code you will have to copy it somewhere as a reference, and then you will have to move on to the QuickBooks Web Connector. I suggest you open the application, STP MSP application, also on the same machine where QuickBooks Web Connector and QuickBooks are installed. So which will help you to do all these operations very easily. Okay. So once you are having this QWC file and the Auth token with you, open the QuickBooks Web Connector and follow the other process of browsing the file and authorizing and allowing the access. So just let's see how exactly it goes with certain screenshots available here. So here is how exactly it looks like inside the QuickBooks company file page to generate a QWC file. So here, this is how it will look when you request to generate a QWC file, and it will ask you for placing a path where the QBW file, which is called a company file, will be located in the same machine where QuickBooks is installed. You got to be a bit careful here. This is a case-sensitive section, so you should make sure that the file name and everything is specified exactly in the way where the file is located. Okay, so once that is done, it will look like this. So you'll select the path, you'll click on generate .qwc file, and once everything is proper, you will get this option like download QWC file, and just below it, it will be written as use the password. And the password will be given when using QuickBooks Web Connector. So just note that particular file and then move on to the QuickBooks Web Connector tool. Okay. So here is what you have to do in QuickBooks Web Connector file. First of all, you got to add, just open this application and click on add application option. And then it will give you a browse window where you will have to choose the QWC file with you. Okay. Make sure you're selecting the QWC file, it's not QBW file. And once you select this QWC file, first thing it's going to ask you is to authorize this particular operation. Okay. And you just have to click OK there. And then it next moves on to the next section where this is a bit important thing that you have to make sure. That is, it will ask you, do you want to allow the application to read and modify the company file? Okay. So here there are options like no or yes prompt each time, yes whenever the QuickBooks company file is open, or yes always allow access even if the QuickBooks is not running. So this means that if you open the QuickBooks installation, there when you are integrating with QuickBooks Web Connector, the file which you loaded, the QBW file which you loaded, that particular file should be open in QuickBooks also. No, else you can close the complete QuickBooks, even then the application can synchronize. But if some other file is open, it will not be able to do the synchronization. I mean, the operation is not going to further proceed. So you should make sure that you select this option, yes, always allow access even if QuickBooks is not running. And then either you can open that particular company file in QuickBooks, or even if it's shut down, there's no problem. Okay, you can proceed with the QB integration. Okay, and then once you click continue here, it will last ask you for the access confirmation, which you have to click OK. I mean done, and then it gives you a window where till now how many applications, I mean how many QWC files which you have generated. It will list you all those particular applications here. Okay, so then what you got to say here is, this is the place where you will have to initiate the synchronization. Okay, so first you have to initiate the left side option. You have to select that particular installation which you want to synchronize. Once you do that, at the top, whichever you see update selected, that particular thing is to pop up. But here, before you go into this, I would request you to get the password which we generated while generating the QWC file and place it at the right-hand side under the password section. Okay? And once you place it and hit enter, it will add the application inside the tool. Okay? And once you do it, it will get added, and it will not prompt you whenever you are syncing the application's QWC file inside this web connector. Else it will prompt you every time for the password for doing the synchronization. So once you update the password here, it will save it, and then it will prompt you like this. So here there are two options: update selected, auto run. Auto run will allow you to automatically do the data transfer from ServiceDesk Plus MSP application into the QuickBooks installation. And update selected option will make you do a manual data transfer between STP MSP and QuickBooks in whatever the way you allowed the select module section in the initial step. Okay, so in this particular way, you will be able to do the synchronization and the integration between QuickBooks and ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So here is another one particular point that you have to remember while doing this. That is, you should allow the application to specify, you should specify whatever the time zone that you are available in, so that the synchronization will be proper. Okay? And also, under this particular option will be available in the same page where QuickBooks integration steps are involved in the application. They'll be under admin section under integrations QuickBooks. And if you face any issue with QuickBooks integration, you can enable the option called as enable detailed logging during QuickBooks sync. If you check this option, and there'll be a view log option at the right hand side, which will allow you to take a complete log and which will give you a trace of identifying what is the issue so far has happened. Okay? So these are some simple steps of doing the QuickBooks integration with ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So anyone having any doubts so far can just put onto the question section.
Okay, so here's one question which is asked. The question is, will this work with the latest QuickBooks for UK?
Yes. It is going to work with the latest QBs for UK also. And thanks for asking that question too.
Okay, next question is there is a chance to add more integrations with other popular financial softwares like SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft GP?
For now we have only enabled with QuickBooks, and we have plans to implement with other tools as well. So we're just looking for some resources to do those things. So once we do it, we'll just let you know about these things.
Okay. So here's one more which says, we are using other apps to sync with QuickBooks, so will this interfere?
I'm really sorry for that, but we only have an option to use QuickBooks Web Connected for now, not any other tools.
Okay, here's one more. Other than this integration with QuickBooks, is there any reason to upgrade from the latest version?
Yes, that's what we're going to discuss right now. There are 3 other features and some other enhancements. I'll just proceed with that. And if you are, actually the question is something like after 7 version you are looking. Yes, there are a lot of other options like CMDB, project management, and a complete new interface for ServiceDesk Plus MSP. All these are there. And we have made some performance-wise improvements. So those things are also there. So I would recommend you to just come on to the latest version.
Okay, so we'll just proceed with the other features in the 8.3 version, and I'll let Krishna have the control once again.
Okay, thanks for that. And here comes the other feature, which is most important, I would say, is really beneficial for the technicians to Just don't jump from the application and stuck up with your phones. I call that as computer telephone integration, called CTI integration. And yeah, this is a very good feature out there. Just think about it. Wouldn't it be nice for your technicians to get notified about the call as a pop-up in the desktop where he's working every time when a customer calls your help desk? With your CTI integration, CTI, you know that the caller's information, personal details like name, account, site, and their pending tickets can be identified before you can answer his or her call. Isn't that a really nice feature that your technicians can just look at who is calling and identify his history so that he can help him better? So just quickly take a look, we'll take a look about what is this particular feature and what are the supported telephony systems which will be integrated with this particular CTI feature inside ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. So for now, we are actually supporting Asterisk and Avaya. So these two telephony tools are being integrated with ServiceDesk Plus MSP application. And using this particular feature, a pop-up will arrive onto the desktop of the technician screen showing him who is calling, and will also allow you to see what are his pending tickets, he belongs to which account and site, all these things. Okay, so just let's take a look how exactly the configuration will go in the application. So this option will be available under admin section of the application under the option called as telephony server integration settings. Okay, so here is the configuration. So you will have to make sure you select which kind of telephony system are you using, whether Avaya or Asterisk, which are supported as of now. And then you should make sure that you are giving the server name or the IP address where this particular telephone system is installed, and also the port, which is by default. It will give you certain options based on the telephony server, which we have some predefined port numbers. If you have made some modification, you can select that particular port number there. And once you type the server name or IP address and click on the option called as Get T-Link, it will give you some links under that section which you'll have to choose it. And then you should give a username and password who has complete access over that particular Avaya or Asterisk tool, so that he'll be able to use any technician's login so that he can get the pop-up. So this is how this particular configuration is done. Once you do this, you got to click on the Save button, and it will say a successful message. Okay, and then once this is done, automatically the call alert section will be enabled. And if you don't want the integration and you want to disable it for a while, you can click on the option called as Disable. Okay, and then let's see how technicians will be notified. There's one more step that you got to perform here. That is, you have to go into the technicians page that is under Admin tab Technician, edit the technician profile, and make sure that the phone number is entered properly, so whatever the extension is, and then also enable this option called as Enable Screen Pop. Okay, if you check this option, only then the technician who logged into the product and who is getting a call, he will be notified with a pop-up saying who has called him and what are his pending requests. Okay, so once the configuration is all perfect, everything is done, then once the technician logs into the tool, he's going to get the screen at the right-hand bottom of the screen, which looks like this. So incoming call 7267, John, and his account name, site name, and certain other details can be obtained from clicking on more details. And this add request button, if you click on add request, immediately it will give you a request form filled with John name and account and the site fields, and you can start typing whatever his issue is. And if you want to look at what are his old requests, you can click on the option called as View Requests. So this will allow you to see his history before just proceeding by creating a new ticket. which will not allow any redundancy of tickets inside the application. And this is not it. And also there is another option, that is, once you go on into the tool, if you want to make an outbound call, the request details section will also give you an option to choose that once you click on the requester name, and you can click on the number from there and do an outbound call. So these are the features available in CTI integration for now. It's quite simple feature. You don't have to juggle around by doing multiple configurations. You should make sure that the port is open between the two servers, and the username and password which you have entered will have the privileges to access all the extensions inside the company. And so that's all about CTI integration. So let's move on to the next feature called criteria-based billing. Well, I would say this is one of the hottest features which we have been introducing to the customers, because we have a lot of demand for this particular feature. So I'll just let you know how exactly this particular feature is being concentrated inside the application. Because we come across a lot of situations where, based on particular criteria or particular situation, you're going to bill for a request for a particular client separately with different charges. So you need not juggle with identifying what is this kind of request and how much cost it has to be done by putting it on some Excel sheet. Without that, you can just simply configure certain criteria under this criteria section, and whenever this criteria is identified, you should be able to specify the charges separately based on the time, like operational hours or non-operational hours. You can specify different times and mention their corresponding costs. So this particular thing, you would definitely be happy if you were able to do it automatically inside the tool. Okay. Just not that. For every particular client, you might need multiple rules to be identified and bill them differently for each and every ticket. So these are the options which you have introduced in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3 version, which will allow you or your tool to identify the type of worklog or the request and charge it differently. So just let's see how exactly this is configured inside the application. So here is how exactly what to do. First, you have to make sure that you enable certain rules under the bill rule section, which is available under admin tab beside the service plan button. And then you configure service plan, where you can make sure that you add certain bill rules. And then once the service plan is defined, the client can choose whatever the service plan that he wants to adopt for his billing. And that particular section, a contract billing, will allow him to choose the service plan and go ahead with the contract billing. And finally, he'll be availed with the bills for each and every month or whatever the periodicity that he has chosen. Okay, so just let's see how exactly it looks inside the tool now. So under admin tab, you go to the bill rule section. This is how exactly it will look like. So this option is, you will have to first name what is the name of the rule that you are going to give for the bill rule. And the section which is called rule definition will allow you to choose a criteria which needs to be matched with the request. And then once you add all the criteria, you will also be availed with cost detail section, where you will mention him whether it's a fixed cost or differential cost. So I'll just give a short description about this particular section. Fixed cost per request is something like, you will just notify that whenever a request arrives, only this amount of charge will be laid on that particular request. No, you want to make it different, then you should make sure that you are giving multiple costs for each and every type of hour it is defined, whether it's under the operational hours or non-operational hours, either it's a weekend or a holiday. They can mention different costs here, and based on that section and the time identified when the request worklog is added, it will get charged based on that. So how it will identify the operational hours, it's going to be under admin tab, operational hours, which is account and site basis. So you should make sure that you are configuring that if you are using this option. And one other main point, under this rule definition, you have two sections called match all of the following or any of the following. So this will allow you to make sure that only certain criteria, if any criteria of this particular list of criteria is identified, you can make sure that the build rule is laid on the request or the service plan, or all. Every condition has to be satisfied. Only then the build rule will get executed. Okay, so once you save this, you can configure the service plan. So just let's take a quick look how exactly this looks with a use case. So here I'm using name called requester as normal user from account B, any name from any one account. So there'll be certain requesters, you might treat them as some important people, and for them you are going to charge it important. You're going to say using a build rule, business rule, you're going to say that this is very important ticket and he has to be treated separately. So you will make sure that you enter those requesters as this under this build rule and then charge them separately because they are given a priority treatment. Or if it's a normal treatment, you can specify that also here. Like I say, level is normal, job title is level 1 technician, and requester is any user from that particular account B. And then based on that, fixed cost per request is 20, per hour is 30, and then differential costs are like this. So this is how exactly it's going to look like. So you can make sure that these are the things. And anyone would be asking questions like, what are the different fields that I'll be able to make the criteria available? So these are the fields. So request fields and other fields also will be available. So here are certain examples like account, asset type, category, departments, so all these sections. So once you make sure that the criteria and the build rule is defined, so where you can use this build rule is under the service plan page. So this is how exactly the service plan page will look like. And just to give a short description about the service plan. So as we know, ISPs or any MSPs will provide their clients with certain service plans which they can choose, and based on the service plan, they'll be charged for the service they are offered. So here we're going to say what is the name of the service plan, and they're going to be charged based on the requests or the hours they are provided with service. And also, they'll be charged every monthly or quarterly or half yearly or yearly. That will be defined under the bill cycle. And then this concept is called fixed monthly charges. Is nothing but you take some amount initially, and for that initial amount, you're going to give some monthly allowance. So this is like a fixed charge, and that month, until that monthly allowance is used, you can't go with the extra charge concept, which is defined under the bill rules. So after the monthly allowance is used, only then it will start executing the bill rules concept, which is under additional usage charges. This is where you're going to specify whether you will execute the bill rule or not. Okay. For this bill rule, if you have to use it, you should mark allow request over and above the allowance at extra charge. Okay. So once you do that, you will select the bill rule with based on the list of bill rules that you have mentioned under bill rule section, and then you're going to say what is fixed cost per hour. If no bill rule matches, what is the cost that it has to be laid on that particular service plan. Okay. So this is how you configure the service plan. So in this way, you're going to make a list of all the service plans, and your your customers or clients can choose any service plan, and based on that, they'll be charged, and you can send out the invoices to them. Okay. So this is all about the criteria-based billing, and then we'll just move on to the next feature called iPhone push notifications. So here is iPhone push notifications. So what exactly this feature is going to do? So as you know, we are used to notifications inside the iPhones. Every mobile phone giving you a notification about different actions implemented inside the application or the app. So whenever a technician is assigned with a ticket, or if he has to be notified with any approval action, so he has to go and take provide an approval or rejection, or whenever the ticket is which he is handling, he has to respond to the ticket. So he should know whether who is the user who has replied to the ticket. So the replies notification or any notes added into that particular ticket should be notified to the technician. So those options will be availed under iPhone push notifications. So there are certain criteria to use this notification. So most primarily, as you know, they should have that iPhone app installed inside their tool, the phone, sorry. And then also under admin notification rules, admin tab notification rules, you should make sure that these notifications are enabled to the technicians. Okay, so once you enable these notification rules under admin tab, only then those notifications will be sent to the technicians. Okay, and another small improvement in 8.3, which will allow the technicians to approve or reject a request, is introduced, and that looks something like this. Yeah, so this is a short image which will help you to see this. So you will be able to see the list of approvals inside your iPhone app, and if you want to approve them, you just can click on that, add certain notes, and then just approve it. Okay, so which is a short sign. So most of your technicians, like a senior manager or someone who is working on the ticket, can approve the request, and this will be more helpful when they are providing any service request approvals. So which will help them with their phones, they can do all the operations and cut down the time by working on the desktops. And this is all about iPhone push notifications and approvals inside the iPhone app. So these are the new features that we have introduced so far inside the ServiceDesk MSP 8.3 version. And just not those things, there are certain other enhancements which we can say. So most of them, when we use this mobile app, either it's an Android app or an iPhone app, they have requested something saying, is it really necessary to create an API key under the technician page, and then I go and type the normal password of the technician and log into the app. So this was a condition earlier. So now there is nothing like that. You can just enter the username, password, and log into the app automatically. The API key generation is automatically done inside the application. So you don't have to go and do it automatically. There's no more work for that. And just not that, and another main request, that is surveys can be disabled or enabled for individual accounts inside the application. You can, for certain accounts, if you don't want the survey to go, you can disable that. Or if you want to enable it only for certain accounts, you can do that too. Okay? And the other one is, as everyone know, like there was you can schedule the request to go on hold state right now. But you can disable it right now. You can disable this particular feature in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3 version. So these are the options, few other enhancements which are available in ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3 version. Thanks for listening to all those things, and I'm just waiting for you if you have any further questions for this.
Thanks, Krishna, for this wonderful presentation on all the features in 8.3. So keep your questions coming in, and I'll just read out the questions, and Krishna will answer all the questions for you. So let me start off. Okay, so here's one question which says that we are using Springhead. Is that okay?
Well, not for now. We might implement it in the future based on priority.
Okay. So here's one more which says, will this work on QuickBooks 2014 and 2015 Canadian edition?
Okay. Any version, to just make it general for this question, any on-premise version of QuickBooks will be working with our application using QuickBooks Web Connector.
Is there some roadmap to support Cisco CTI integration?
Yeah, we do have it. Thanks for asking the question. We did get some certain requests about that, and we are planning to include that inside the application.
Are there any other VoIP systems on the future roadmap? Short-term customer asking here. Sorry, we just got disconnected out there. So let me just repeat back to the question where we were in. The question asked by one of our attendees was, are there any other VoIP systems on the future roadmap? There's a short-term customer asking this question.
Thanks for asking that question too. Yeah, we do have certain other VoIP systems to be integrated. We are having certain plans. We would release that roadmap shortly. And we'll definitely email you people with those list of other tools that we're going to introduce into this section.
Okay. We have, one second. Just give me 1 second, please. We have customers with many requesters. When one of these calls, one of these calls as the presented number will be mailed the line number which requester will be displayed.
Well, if I understand correctly this question, you would like to know what is the requester name displayed. So when who is an unknown requester is calling or he is not identified properly based on the line that he has called. Well, if application is not really understanding, it's gonna say like unknown requester for now. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm understanding the question rightly, or else we're gonna send you an email shortly so that you can ask the question much more in a detailed manner, and we can discuss upon that. Thanks for asking anyways.
What about the Android version? Will that be available?
Thanks for asking that question too. And we do have plans of providing Android push notifications. So yeah, as it goes, first iPhone and then Android. So we are looking to integrate those two, Android and iPhone too. So once they are provided, we'll let you know about those features.
So will the push notifications also work for other mobile devices?
Well, that is actually answer for now. It's only for iPhone, and we do have plans to avail it for multiple other operating systems under the mobile phones.
Okay, questions are coming in a lot of numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer one more last question, and the rest of the other questions we'll actually answer via email. You can actually send all your questions to webinars@ManageEngine.com. And the question right now is, as worklog entries are being used for billing, can clients view these entries in the client side portal?
Okay. To just answer this question, I would like to say about this account manager role, which you can avail it to certain requesters on the client side. So you give a role called account manager in the requester profile, and when he logs in, he can see all these, he can just view those worklogs and all that particular features. Okay. Also, he can have certain reports access, so he can take that particular report. So only an account manager has this particular privilege. Well, I'm really sorry for people who didn't get my sound properly. I did hear for that particular people. We'll try to make sure that this particular audio is enhanced, and you can listen to this once again from our website in short.
So keep all your questions coming in, and mail us all your questions at webinars@managing.com. Thanks for actually attending this webinar, and hope you have actually enjoyed all the new features which come with ServiceDesk Plus MSP 8.3. So on behalf of ServiceDesk Plus Marketing and ServiceDesk Plus MSP, this is Siddhant signing here, signing off. Have a great day. Thanks, Krishna.
Thank you, everyone, for coming for this particular webinar, and hope we will hear from you all these questions. Some more questions about this webinar. And thanks for joining again.